Good morning. I'm Jennifer Palmer, and I'll be your online worship leader today. During the service, we recommend you have your Zoom screen set to speaker view. This is Common Ground, our celebration of worship for people of many paths who are gathering virtually to share in the responsible search for meaning and truth. Pathways is a warm and open community where all who come with open minds and kind hearts are welcome, regardless of ability, age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. If you're visiting with us for the first time today, we welcome you to our virtual service and hope you'll visit us in person when we can be together again. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. To send us a note about your visit or ask for more information about Pathways, email office@pathwaysuu.org. We hope that all who join us today find this a safe and inspiring online place to worship. Our opening song this morning is hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
As we virtually light our chalice this morning, please join me in these words by an anonymous author. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. I invite you now to join in a renewal of our sacred promises. Please read along with me. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. Our call to worship is from the May 12th, 1899 address by Daniel Christian Limbaugh to those interested in forming a Unitarian church in Dallas, Texas. The time has come in the history of Dallas when a broad and liberal Christianity should be declared here. Many souls are hungering and thirsting for religious knowledge, truth, and righteousness. To them, the old dogmas, doctrines, and creeds appear outgrown. These persons are at sea without a chart or compass, and many are making shipwrecks of their religious natures. The old creeds seem to them unworthy of the character of God, the nature of man, and the highest conception of human duty and destiny. We need a liberal platform which does no violence to religion, but which, while perfectly rational, is at the same time expressive of the highest conception of a life of spirituality. Our worship song is hymn number 300, With Heart and Mind. Our speaker this morning is Daniel Polk, Executive Director of the North Texas Unitarian Universalist Congregations. A native of Iowa, Daniel has lived in Texas for nearly 30 years. Daniel has worked in Dallas in the decorative furnishings business and as an elementary teacher. He has been a member of First Unitarian Church of Dallas for 25 years and has had many roles, chairing the worship committee and leading the lesbian gay group. Daniel has also been president of NTUUC. If you give him half a chance, he'll get started telling you about some of the exciting projects and possibilities for our faith. And now we'll hear some history of Unitarian Universalists in North Texas consider possibilities going forward, and get some updates from Daniel.
Our reading today is from Eugene Pickett's 1984 report as the UUA president, found in Jack Mendelssohn's book, Being Liberal in an Illiberal Age. During my growing up years in a small village in Maryland, the local Methodist church was central in my life. But during my high school years, questions and doubts about my religious beliefs began to surface. Feelings of isolation began to grow, for there was no one with whom I could share my yearning and searching. My high school and early college days and my time in the Navy were deeply lonely times. I still recall with painful intensity those early months in the Navy when I was just 18, frightened and alone. At the end of the day, I would crawl into my bunk, pull the blankets over my head, and pray that God or someone would help me in my loneliness. And then I would cry myself to sleep, fearful that someone in a nearby bunk would hear me. Praying didn't seem to help, but I think the crying did. How much I needed someone to share my religious search. How great was my need for someone to care. The need for a supportive and searching religious community has never left me. That, in part, is why I became a minister. That, in part, is why I'm committed to building a strong Unitarian Universalist movement. Ours is a rich and diverse history of which we can be proud. First Unitarian has been in Dallas for more than 120 years and helped start a number of the congregations in North Texas, Greater DFW. We also helped start the Richardson Mosque back in the early 1980s. And in the 60s, women worked on what became Roe versus Wade. I knew two of those women, but they didn't talk about Roe v. Wade because they were always going on to the next thing, looking ahead. And in 1960, the Dallas Yellow Pages were divided into Black churches, white churches, and other. There were three: the Cathedral Downtown Catholic, a Congregationalist church, and First Unitarian. Today, I want to share a bit of our history, some of our current programs, and possibilities for what we could do if we really got rocking and rolling. So let me turn on my screen share here, give my slideshow. The Texas Prairie, the Chalice. We have been in Texas. Universalists were here since the 1840s, saving people who weren't good enough for the Baptists. The heyday was in the 1890s. In 1888, the ministers signed in at a meeting under the leadership of Mary and James Billings, based in Hyco, Texas, the bustling metropolis. One of the ministers was from Fort Worth. The Reverend Street was sometimes claimed Dallas as his home address. I don't know that there was a Universalist congregation in either city. First in Houston, First Unitarian years ago was preparing for their 75th, and they found the other U in their history. People who had founded First Unitarian had been part of a Universalist church or movement before that, and the congregation then changed its name to First Unitarian Universalist Church. There were Unitarians in Austin in the 1880s, but that congregation didn't last very long. Dallas, first church formed in 1899. The reading you heard came from that era. The building, first one was at Commerce and Pearl. There's now there's a parking lot at that corner. And the church grew and thrived. It had to shut the doors in 1931 when it lost the building, But for 7 years, the Women's Alliance kept things together because they had the phone tree and maintained the records and the charter. So it's why Dallas is regarded as the longest standing UU church in Texas. By the late 1960s, an informal group of the 6 DFW congregations met, called the North Texas Association of Universalist Societies, NAUTIS for short. You see why we changed? We now got rid of 5 syllables, have a somewhat pronounceable acronym, and can say the name all in one breath. We became a 501c3 in 1969 because a local builder knew of a federal housing program with subsidy. So, and Rabel Place, or NAUTIS, became a 501c3. We built Rabel Place, a low-income housing project, apartments that we set were the embodiment of the ideals managed by Housing and Urban Development. We had on-site healthcare workers, social worker, parenting class, GED class. It was the first integrated housing apartments in North Texas. It was the embodiment of what HUD wanted to do. When they talked to programs in other cities, ours was the model. Ours was the reference point. Out of 2 programs nationally, apparently ours was one of 2 that embodied the ideals behind the legislation. However, in a faith-based group, you're going to have fraud and waste. And out of the 72 programs in the 236 program, 59 of the projects went bankrupt. But ours was the ideal. We were one of 2 that got it right. Here's the fearless group that led us at that point. This was the board in 1975. 2 of those people, at least 2, are still alive. But Rabel Place was the ideal, what we were trying to do. The program only lasted a few years, and after 30 years, there were no more subsidies. The rents were up near market rate. The place needed major repairs. We got a good offer. We took the money and ran and got in the stock market at a very good time. So we have an endowment that lets us do our work now. And we do different things. Our board's training grew into a leadership conference, standing on the side of leadership, which ran for several years. And we also did workshops on other topics, other things going on. Networking. We also teach OWL. Our whole lives is maybe one of the best things we do. Not just a sex ed course, but sexuality curriculum, which of course is medically accurate. We network, we support UUA activities and programs of the UUA, the regional activities, their workshops and trainings, such as the leadership experience. Back when I went, it was just called Leadership School, but it is something it helps us become well-rounded leaders ready to tackle a variety of challenges. The U College of Social Justice also does in-depth trainings, social justice trips to cities where the work is being done on the ground, and we go and learn and help. Of course, social media presence. Y'all could help on this too. Please do 3 things. Go on Facebook, such as, or even Twitter, but if you go on Facebook, react to, comment on, and share our post. Okay, that's 3 things. That will get us in more searches. Our name will come up more often, and we'll have more presence on the internet. You could do the same thing on Twitter. We lobby. Go to Austin. Next time the ledge is in session, we might well take a bus down to Austin and be part of a swarm of yellow shirts in the Capitol. Would you join us? In the Pride parades, more yellow shirts. Dallas is the big one. That Dallas is the regional parade event. You can see we had quite a contingent, and one in Fort Worth as well. Now, some people will ask, how is a Pride parade social action? Well, I'm here to tell you, we are reaching people who have been abused in the name of religion. A lot of damage was done in the name of religion. So, well, where are we going next? Well, of course, we've been working on a strategic plan. Our vision statement developed that congregations will transform lives by enabling more people to benefit from UISM. We nourish the souls of people, of congregation members, and we increase justice, or we hope to. We help congregations achieve their goals by using our resources, by putting on more trainings, and increasing visibility generally. Trainings or resources, like we give out grants, including $5,000 to support the salary for a director of religious education at Pathways. We give out money for registration assistance to help people go to General Assembly, other UU conferences, and even ones outside that help us and build our repertoire of skills. We've got 2 trainings coming up. The 22nd of September, widening the circle, breaking down white supremacy, and making the UUA more open. Now, this first one is being led, yes, by white people, because you know what? It's white people's problem. White people have to start doing the work. Self-differentiation will probably be a Saturday or maybe a Sunday in late October, helping people learn how to be a non-anxious presence, something very important for leaders of congregations. I would love to see all of our board members go through this training. And our boards, we're also working on a high-level roundtable with a nationally known leader moderating a group of presidents and vice presidents from our congregations, looking at high-level issues and an in-depth discussion. Visibility, we want to get out, keep out there promoting UUism and our congregations. But if we really got rocking and rolling, what would we do? What could we do? Housing. Some people say, let's build another Rainbow Place. We don't have that kind of money, but we could focus on a specific population and partner with a group, maybe like Rainbow Place or Habitat, maybe tiny cottages. This should be the housing first, which is the idea that we don't wait until someone gets sober or clean from drugs before they get housing. Because you know what? That substance abuse, the mental health issues sometimes came about because of the lack of housing. So if we can tackle the homelessness, then we can more efficiently work on other issues facing people. I also wanted to tell the story of our congregation in Olympia, Washington, which has a history of housing, working on homelessness. And about 15 years ago, the city of Olympia had a group form a tent city as a protest movement. And officials said, well, we're going to shut it down. Before they had a chance, our congregation sprang into action. The board said, there's no time for a congregation meeting. The board had an emergency meeting and said, okay, we're going to do this. And went to this tent village and said, well, we've got land. Bring your stuff over. And they set up a tent village. Of course, it could not stay there permanently. So for the next 7 years, I said 7 years, the tent city moved every 90 days, and then it became every 6 months. So every 3 to 6 months, they would move between 6 different congregations and back and around and back again. In the meantime, our congregation was the lead on working with other organizations to build a village of 30 tiny houses using state money and county land. They built Quixote Village, which the tent city had been Camp Quixote, but now it's a village that is managed by people who live there. It's a success story. I think they're even working on stage 2, a second development. If we chose one population I would suggest we look at would be youth, which would also reach another of our aims, helping LGBT teens. The queer population, the figure I see most often is 40% of the homeless youth, although just 7% of the general population. Teens who have been kicked out of their homes or fled for their physical safety and needing to find a home. They've even get turned away from shelters sometimes. And it's sometimes just looking for a place to use the restroom. But we certainly, we don't want to think about the survival sex that happens. So we could be reaching out to that population. We could also teach OWL. First Dallas is starting a program called WISE, Wholly Informed Sex Ed, teaching OWL classes in the wider community. Of course, wholly informed sex ed, because then OWL is wise, right? I'd love to expand this, replicate it for Tarrant County, for Denton County, and beyond. We'd need some raise money to do that, but we could. Let's go on. Campus ministry would also take some money, although there are models with just a little bit of money or a lot of money. If I had a bucket of money, I'd consider maybe going to Denton and setting up a campus ministry center between Texas Women's and University of North Texas campus, where we could help build the foundation for use for generations to come. The possibilities are vast. So what are we going to do? What should we do? NTUUC is fleshing out the strategic plan and seeing how we can work it. But there's a lot we have done a lot. We do a lot, and we could be doing so much more. Going on, there are 3 questions I want us to ask. Do we want to do social justice work, community service, or both? Both are important. Community service is helping neighbors in need. Social action is helping change the system so we don't have those future needs or those needs in decades to come. Both are important, but some people tend to do community service and call it social action. That doesn't work. Also, let's ask, are we doing things with people or for them? Because doing things for people, that what we think they need, may not actually be helpful. It's what they may or may not want it. But well-intentioned help doesn't always work. Doing things for people can be patriarchal, patronizing, and presumptuous, the 3 Ps. Finally, what is our sweet spot? A sweet spot is looking at our resources and our skills, the needs of the community, and what excites us. What falls in the overlap of all 3 is where we can do real powerful work. So what's in that sweet spot? And yes, by the way, you can use the same concept in your own personal career planning. 3 questions. Yes, all important. So religion is often about saving souls. Saving souls and doing good work. But Uism is all really about saving lives. Let's draw inspiration from our past, keep doing good work, and consider the possibilities for what we really could do and be. Blessed be, and amen.
Our virtual chalice extinguishing is by Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith divine living. Our closing song for today is I Will Stand by Emma's Revolution.
In the warmth of your presence, I am safe at home. I will stand, I will stand. In the deepest conflict, I am not alone. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand, I will stand. With this spark in my hand, I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand in myself when I'm not feeling strong. I will stand, I will stand. I will tear down the walls and sing a freedom song. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand, I will stand. With this spark in my hand, I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will gather the courage I have found in me. I will stand, I will stand. I will honor the vision of who I will be. I will stand, I will stand. I will stand,
Questions of others about you, or is that a different set?
I will stand in the circle with the circle in me. I will stand, I will stand, I will stand, I will stand.
We hope that each of you on your individual path through the joys and questions of life found some common ground with your fellow travelers today. Our benediction is by Laurelyn Bellamy. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace. Our thanks again to Daniel and to all of you who joined our Zoom service today. Daniel will be able to join us for a while after the service, so let's take some time to thank him, ask any questions we have, and visit for a bit. The adult groups will start at 11:30.